This is the Town of Woodbridge Board of Finance monthly meeting. Today is Thursday, March 16th of the year 2023, and the first item on our agenda is public comments. Gay, is it Gay I've got to ask for now?
Yes.
Okay. Any public comments that you received?
No public comments.
I remembered your name. Did you notice that?
Very good, thank you.
Getting there. I get it on the phone and I draw a blank. But no, it's not Karen. I'm going to remember. I am. Okay, item number 2. Tony.
Yes. So our report through February has a year-end budget surplus of about $650,000. That brings us to a fund balance estimated at $7.8 million, or just about 14.6% of our expenditures. We're doing well. Our interest income continues to be the big winner here, with about a little over $300,000 in surplus there. So we continue to generate a lot of income from our interest in our funds. Intergovernmental revenue is just about even. We had a surplus in the state of Connecticut special revenue account. It's about $180,000. We have a deficit in special education costs, special education excess cost grant of $194,000. I think what happened was when the estimate was determined last year, it was much higher than it probably should have been, and so therefore we round up with a shortfall. So they sort of cancel each other out. We did receive $23,000 in opioid settlement funds, which will continue for the ensuing years based on each of the settlements. There are 3 settlements. There's a manufacturer settlement, there's a distributor settlement, and there's a pharmacy retail settlement. So those are all the 3 sort of groups that have settlements that we receive money from. Natural gas, we're keeping an eye on. We may have some issues in some of our departments. We're not quite sure yet, given the winter and where we're going to be there. Waste management, we'll probably have a deficit of about $50,000. 2 reasons: our solid waste tonnage has increased, and our recycling costs have increased. I know we've talked about that in the past. Mm-hmm. I'm hopeful, however, because we charge for our solid waste, so we charge for the haulers only, that we hopefully should make most of it up in additional revenues. So I'm hopeful that we don't have to hit contingency for that. We're another benefit for contingency is that I probably shouldn't be saying this, but we've had very little snow this year, so
I didn't say it on camera. You're absolutely right. We didn't.
So hopefully that means we won't have to use our contingency for that, and so that's some good news. And finally, our Amity surplus for the current year is $363,000, which is in 2 parts. First, $134,000 was from the failed referendum that happened last spring, and the second was $229,000, which represents our portion of their surplus that they lowered their March payment by, so we paid less than we had budgeted. So if you add those 2 together, that's where we get the 363. So those are the highlights for our generally doing very well this year.
That's great. Fund balance, because if we get stuck with something, we always can do a fund balance transfer, and that's a healthy fund balance. It is.
That's correct. Yep.
And that's the reason we have it. That's what Tony always says, right? That's the reason we have it.
That's why you have a fund balance.
That's right. Okay. Any questions for Tony? Right. All good news, I guess. Well, it'll end up being good news. Okay. Next, the governor's budget update. That's the sheet we got.
Yeah. It's just for more of an FYI, but I thought it gives you a good summary of where we were and where we are. So you can see there's a slight increase in ECS funding, all of which I put in the budget, by the way. There's an increase in ECS funding, a slight. The rest of them are pretty flat except for motor vehicle, which is increased by 389,000. That's supposed to represent the amount of tax revenue that's lost as a result of the freezing the mill rate. So for motor vehicles. So it's a year behind because they have the data the year behind. So every year it gets readjusted based on your information.
Tony, do you know offhand how close it is to making us whole, or it's pretty close, right?
It's pretty close, yeah. It's pretty close. And if you think about it in the if you think about it in a different, if you look at it in a different way, the freezing of the motor vehicle mill rate just shifts how you pay for the tax levy, right? So it reduces the motor vehicles, but increases the housing. But you still the property, but you still have to pay the same amount in the budget. So this adds another $1.3 million into the budget. So if you think about it from the total, it's actually lessens the amount we have to pay in taxes. If that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. The only interesting change here is you'll see the municipal stabilization changes from the formulary statutory grant that we get automatically to a supplemental revenue sharing grant. So that appears to be dependent on if the state is doing well financially, then we get that money. If they're not, then we might not get all of it.
So how did you treat that in the budget?
Well, I put the whole amount in.
I think the state's doing really well. So
Yeah, they're doing well. That's the one reason. Another reason, as Matt indicated, is financially, our fund balance is doing well. So you could take some, small risks when it comes to some of this stuff. And I took some other risks in the budget, which I'll explain to you when we get to that point on some of our revenues.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Hopefully this all comes to pass. Woodbridge Board of Ed financial report. I guess we can talk about that later, but did I see like an $86,000 surplus, something like that?
Tom is actually here.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
All right. Well, you could talk about it
I was
later.
in a parking lot because I got stuck in a traffic in an accident on the highway, so I couldn't make it home. But they do have that surplus. It's a little bit lower because they've spent some other stuff. So
Okay. All right. Funding requests. We got a few. Okay. All right. The first one is a transfer, a line item transfer for a traffic review for 10-14 Merritt Avenue. We all know what that is. That's that project they're building between Merritt Avenue and the Parkway. There's been a lot of concern, and rightfully so, about the traffic possibilities. I know when it was presented, I watched it on Planning and Zoning. They made it sound like it's not going to be a big deal, but boy, I'll tell you, it's got to be somewhat of a deal because every time I go down there's all kinds of traffic. But people were had more information than I did. So I'm going to, I think it's a good idea. I'm going to move acceptance of line item transfer 2223-20 in the amount of $8,000.
Second.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Anything you want to mention about this, Tom?
This is being paid for by the applicant. So we're
okay.
It's more of an accounting thing.
We're fronting the money. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Funding
All
the
right.
expense. Yeah.
Any questions? Okay. All those in favor? Yes. Ellen? Yes.
Yes.
Tom?
yes,
Dwight? Yes.
Yes.
Donovan?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. No, Susan. Where's Susan?
she said yes
Okay. How do you know?
because I saw
Okay. Next up is another line item transfer. It's 2223-21 and it's $7,000 to fund increases in software packages that were not known during budget prep. I'm sure Tony can tell us about this. So I will move acceptance of line item transfer 2223-21 in the amount of $7,000.
second.
Okay, Tony.
So some of our software packages, we have to estimate what we think they'll be because we do not have the information when we create the budget. And we've just seen a number of them increases are higher than we'd anticipated. A lot of it has to do with cybersecurity and the costs and the investments that are being made in that area. So it's several packages, from our tax package to our assessor's package to our building official, our financials. It's a little bit to go around.
Okay. Any questions on that one? Hearing none. Yes, Dwight,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Ellen,
Yes.
Donovan,
Yes.
Susan.
Yes.
All right. 7,000. Okay. Why am I not seeing the next one? I printed everything.
That was tabled by the Board of Selectmen.
Oh, okay, the 11-2?
Yes.
Okay, so we're not gonna talk about that one. All right, next up is a transfer of $3,000. It's an annual transfer from Bethwood Baseball League for providing temporary toilets and overtime related to league tournaments. So this is just acceptance of an amount of money. So I'll approve line item transfer 2223-23 in the amount of $3,000.
Second.
Okay. Any questions on this? There's a letter attached from our esteemed member, Mr. Rowland. This is.
Always glad to help.
Yep, yep. Okay, anything else? Okay, I'm a yes. Ellen?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Dwight?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Donovan?
Yes.
Tom, did I get you?
You did, and it's a yes.
Okay, all right, good. And finally, it's another line item transfer. I love line item transfers, but okay. This is a line item transfer to fund the shortage in the repair and maintenance building line 18.5. Fund the town's portion of updating 2 EV electric vehicle charging stations, $4,400. So that's a total of $22,900. And again, there's a letter here from Brad Parsons, but I will move acceptance of line item transfer 2223-24 in the amount of $22,900.
Second.
Tony, anything you want to say on that?
I could just add that the you have electric vehicle charging renovation update of the 2 stations.
Yeah.
Its total cost is $12,000. We received $7,600 in grant funds, so we're only paying $4,400. I will also say that these new charging stations are equipped with a credit card machine. So should we
Okay.
choose to, at some later date, more of a policy sort of question, we could charge for use of the vehicle stations at some point. So usually the grant has a restriction of a year or so.
Okay.
But that's, our old ones did not have that ability. So I thought I'd mention that. And we just had some unanticipated repairs. One was the Darling House boilers that needed to be replaced. And the sprinkler system at the center building were 2 large ones.
Okay. Okay, any other questions for Tony?
How many
All right.
charging stations do we have?
We have one at the library and we have one at Public Works, in front of Public Works.
Are there any plans to add any more? Because I know there's a big push to go to electric vehicles.
There is discussion at the for the community center grant to possibly add another, but it hasn't been determined yet.
Hey, do we have any sense how many people are using them? Is there any way to tell?
We can tell by people that park outside, right? We see a lot of people parked, but not really. The new ones will have more of ability to pull up information on and get a lot more information out of them. But I don't know. I've seen a lot of people using at least the one the one at the library seems to need to get repaired a lot. So I think people are using that one a lot too.
It's used almost all the time, I see.
Yeah.
I remember when we first got them, we didn't have to pay for them and we could not charge.
Correct.
Right,
That's
and
correct.
now
Yeah.
With this new grant, we also can't charge for a certain amount of time.
Right, I'm guessing it's probably the same, probably for
Yeah.
a certain amount of time, but then after that, we would have the ability to charge.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anything we have to do with the electrical leading into it? Are these, or is it the same electrical feed?
Same electrical, same feed, yeah.
So we don't have to update or anything, do that?
No.
Okay, anything else? I'm a yes, Dwight,
Yes?
Ellen,
Yes,
Donovan's yes, Tom,
Yes.
and Susan.
I want half credit for not making a bad joke about charging for charging. I'm a yes.
Okay. All right, how do we want to work this? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sets of minutes. We want to approve them individually, or we can do them all together? Anybody have a feeling on that?
well, I'm happy to do them all together, but I think there are two when I wasn't there, one when I was there, but didn't
All
indicate,
right,
but
you know
Karen,
what, it'll take 4 minutes. Let's do it. Let's just do them. All right. The first set is December 1st, and it's a joint Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen meeting about ARPA funds, et cetera, and a capital budget presentation. So I'll move acceptance of the minutes of December 1st as presented.
Second?
Any adjustments, corrections, et cetera? Hearing none. Wait, okay. I'm a yes. Ellen,
yes,
Dwight,
Yes?
Susan,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Donovan.
Yes.
That's it. Right. Okay. Next is December 6th, which again is a joint capital budget presentation with the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance. And I will move acceptance of the minutes of the meeting on December 6th, 2022 as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any corrections, adjustments, et cetera? All right. I'm a yes. Dwight,
Yes?
Ellen,
abstain, I wasn't there.
Okay. Susan,
Yes.
Donovan,
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Next is Tuesday, January 21st. This is our regular, is this our regular? Yeah, we had to move it. This is our regular, no, these are operating budgets. This wasn't a joint meeting? Was it? Yeah. Yeah, it says on the inside, not on the front. Okay. So this was a joint meeting, the first budget meeting of the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, for operating budget presentations. I'll move acceptance of the minutes of January 24th as presented.
Second?
Any corrections? Adjustments? No? Okay, I'm a yes. Tom,
Yes.
Ellen,
Yes,
Susan,
Yes.
Dwight,
Yes?
Donovan.
Yes.
Okay, next is January 26th, another budget hearing. Joint Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen budget hearing, and I will move acceptance of the minutes of January 26th as presented.
Second?
Any adjustments, corrections, anything? Okay. I'm a yes. Dwight,
Yes?
Yes.
Ellen,
abstain,
Donovan,
Yes.
and Susan.
I will abstain. I was not present.
Okay. And I guess our final, our final joint Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen budget meeting was Tuesday, January 31st. And I will move acceptance of the minutes of the January 31st meeting as presented.
Second?
Okay, any adjustments or corrections? Hearing none, I'm a yes. Susan,
Yes.
Donovan,
Yes.
White,
Yes?
Tom,
Yes.
Ellen.
abstain,
Next is our regular meeting on February 16th, the Board of Finance. And I will move acceptance of the minutes of the February 16th, 2023 meeting as presented.
second,
Okay, any corrections or adjustments to that? All right, I'm a yes. Dwight?
I abstained. I wasn't
Oh,
there.
yeah, you weren't at that one, right? Susan,
Yes.
Donovan,
Yes.
Ellen,
yes,
Tom.
Yes.
Okay. And finally, on the Thursday, March 2nd meeting, when we got together to discuss the budget, I will move acceptance of the minutes of March 2nd, 2023 as presented.
Second,
Okay, any corrections? Anything?
Karen, is this the meeting? I was there, right?
Yeah, you were there.
yeah,
It just,
Yeah.
it doesn't say it on mine, but I guess it's corrected. Okay, good.
Okay. I'm a yes. Dwight?
yes,
Tom?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Donovan?
Abstain, I was.
Okay, you weren't there. What did I miss?
Ellen, yes.
Yes. Is that it? Yes. Okay, good. Got that out of the way. All right, next up is first Selectman's report.
Thank you, Matt. Good evening, members of the Board of Finance and those joining via WebEx. As I informed the Selectmen last week, and as we all know, our ongoing budget dilemma is caused by a long-term revenue problem. We have consolidated staff positions, cut programs, and there are very few ways left where we can make additional meaningful cuts to the budget without cutting services. So we need to focus on growing revenue. New revenue is critical to fund our high-quality education and other important town services. The town can grow its grand list by expanding the commercial district and also offering new and diverse folk housing. Our 2030 task force is continuing to accomplish just that, with the goal of having a healthier grand list by 2030. They've already presented their connectivity proposal in the business district to maximize grant opportunities and will present strategies on placemaking and other ideas for the business district at the April 12th Board of Selectmen meeting. I do look forward to hearing their recommendations, and please feel free to join in. Additionally, I continue to see ways to expand our regional services. Last week, the Board of Selectmen approved a memorandum of understanding between Beacon Falls and Woodbridge to provide district animal control services on a month-to-month basis. At this point, following an horrific animal situation that occurred recently in Beacon Falls. I'm also pleased to share that the 55-plus housing proposal, which was approved by both the Town Plan and Zoning Commission and the Inland Wetlands Agency, has now begun. The project is located at Litchfield Turnpike and Bradley Road. Toll Brothers estimates construction will be completed in 3 years. This housing project will grow our grand list with approximately 70 new homes, while not add to the enrollment in our schools. Last month, there was a request from the Massaro Farm to the Board of Selectmen for a planned upgrade, which included a farm stand to the barn on the property. This was referred to Town Plan and Zoning for an 824 review. However, they were not successful in their grant application for the farm stand, so this project has been withdrawn. Lastly, our wonderful town library staff has stepped up to coordinate townwide events such as Earth Day 2024, Woodbridge Like Me Day, and this year's Red Litter Day to be held on Saturday, April 22nd. As we have had several staff changes over the past few months, we've taken the opportunity to examine resources and reallocate department assignments related to town events. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Beth? No? Okay. Liaison reports. Anybody have a report they'd like to make? Just speak up.
I'll just say briefly that we talked about it a little bit earlier. I went to the board, Beecher Finance Committee this week. They still have that surplus, mostly due to the fact that they weren't able to hire some paraprofessionals. They're waiting, towards the end of the year before they're starting to think about what they could do with those funds, possibly spend it on some of the security issues and others, but they want to wait and make sure that they actually have them before they spend them, that it is a surplus. And I guess that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, so now comes the second to the last item, which again is to hopefully come together with a budget recommendation for the preliminary budget hearing to be held on April 24th. We met on March 2nd, as we know, and we kind of tabled that, and I've been driving Tony out of his mind lately. I want to get the budget increase down as low as we can without having it drastically affect town services. And so Tony's been working hard on this with my suggestions or my areas. And so you now see I'm assuming we all have this list. The total's 899, 283, I hope.
Yes.
Okay.
Would it help if I went through some of these additions?
Yeah, why don't you go through, yeah, I think the revenue stuff we have no problems with. The cap, like the.
One comment I just want, Matt, there's one comment I want to make on the revenue.
Yeah,
Is that the building permit line, the second line?
yeah,
So that's because as Beth indicated, they started working on Toll Brothers.
okay.
So the Toll Brothers, there's 70 units, and we estimate for the building permit about $6,000 a unit. And they anticipate 12, one a month. They're going to do like 4 initially, and then once a month, I think, is their sort of schedule. So that's 72,000 or thereabouts. And so you'll see the increase from the request is about 75,000. It's 25 from the first round, from the Selectmen, 50 now. So that's where that comes from. As an example, once those are all fully built, if you estimate $500,000 each, I'm not sure what they're going for, but as a baseline estimate, that's about $1.2 million in taxes. So it gives you a sort of an idea of how much that would generate.
Okay.
Okay.
What about tennis court repair?
So I removed that. There's some question. We last did the tennis courts, repaired them, and I think 18 or 19, 5 years ago maybe. And the type of repair we did should last a lot longer. So after discussing with Adam, we feel it'd be more appropriate to do more investigation into maybe more repairs to the base, because there's something causing it to crack, and it shouldn't be cracking every 5 years, to the extent it is. And so we thought we would do more investigation, maybe take it up next year.
Okay, good idea.
Can I ask Tony just a question about the building down on Merritt, between that we were talking about with the traffic? Do we have an estimation of when they're going to start that, and whether that will cause some increase in revenue this year?
It will cause an increase in revenue, but I don't have a timetable on that yet.
Okay.
So that's
what
why.
I don't think they've completed, they maybe have gone through P&Z and inland wetlands, but there's still some issues with building permits and things, as I understand. So we don't know.
Thanks, Beth.
Welcome.
Okay, Tony, the other changes all appear to be the benefits.
Yeah.
Well,
So
everybody was because they lowered their budget, but why don't you go over those?
sure. So we received our healthcare renewals down to 4.5%. And so I had it up a lot higher. And so that's where the healthcare savings comes in to play. Unfortunately, our retirement went up. And so we're in called a municipal employee retirement system. It's a defined benefit pension that the state runs. And there's actually enough of a noise has been made by the member communities, because this doesn't include state money, but the state runs the plan. So as a result, there's never been any interest in going through the process to try and make the plan more affordable for communities. Enough noise has been made, including from Woodbridge, that we were on a call with the controller, who has a plan to come up with suggestions and ways to make this plan more affordable. He's been very active in it, and we do appreciate that, because he's really one of the first ones to show any interest in this. And so he's hopeful to have some changes for this session. So and I'll let you know what happens. But in the meantime, this is our estimate for the current year.
Tony,
Next year.
That's the new state comptroller, that's Sean.
Yeah, Sean Scanlon. Yeah, he was
Great.
great. He was very helpful, and seems very interested in helping us.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so basically, we'll talk about all these other items, but I think, Beth hit it on the head with the revenue. If we can't get more, it's so hard. I mean, it is so hard to keep taxes under control when you're trying to run a town and you're trying to provide the excellent service that people in this town are accustomed to. when your revenue is stagnant, and I know, no matter what we come up with here tonight, people are going to be not happy, 2.99 or 3.23 or whatever, any increase, some people, it's going to be, some people are going to be very unhappy and start complaining about, we don't know what we're doing and whatever. But I talked to Tony numerous times about things that we could do that hopefully will not seriously impact any services. And I think he's done a good job of coming up with a lot of these. So, but again, I'm hoping with this increased construction and grand list growth that we'll have more room to maneuver when they start coming in with more taxes. So I guess the best way to do this is, well, I guess, I mean, I'm on board with all this stuff because, again, it's what we tried to do is get it under 3%, and some people think we should get it to 2%, or it's hard. That's going to be very hard. What would it take to get us to 2%, Tony? Roughly.
I was just going to tell you that. I was just pulling that up. So to get the mill rate to 2% would be well, it was 1.35 million from the selectman's budget. So we have 900,000. So you're looking at $450,000 thereabouts.
To get it down to there.
To
And
2%.
again, this is not our last crack at this. We could probably right after the budget hearing, we're going to talk again about this. But for now, this gets us down to 2.9 now. And things could change, somewhat. But I think you got pretty accurate information. Am I correct, Tom?
Yes, I think the healthcare is accurate. The
Yeah.
retirement's accurate.
Yeah.
The I don't see any discussion in Hartford about any reductions to municipal aid. It's been pretty quiet. So I think that's probably pretty close. Those are really a lot of the wild card items that tend to come up every year.
Okay.
The only other issue could be that, as Tom mentioned, the development on Merit. And I'm not sure the timing on that, or if we'll get maybe some additional building permit revenue from that. And then, the Toll Brothers timing is a question. I just put in what the schedule, and I put in building permits, not plumbing or electrical or some of the other special permits that might be required. So it's a little conservative.
Yeah.
But I think they're pretty close. I'm not aware of any surprises that await.
Okay. So I think nobody's going to argue with revenue increases. Those are pretty self-explanatory. And as far as capital, again, we all lament reducing road paving, but the good news is, again, we have a good, healthy fund balance. So if a road needs to be done in the plan, we can certainly take it out of fund balance if we have to. So we'll keep that in mind. So I don't think, again, there's not a whole lot of questions on, but if anybody has a question on capital. From there, the operating budget, I'm just going to leave that open to anybody who wants to talk about the operating budget.
I just have a question. First of all, I want to thank both Matt and Tony. This clearly reflects a huge amount of work and thought to try and get to a responsible place. And I think all of our questions have been answered, or at least might have been answered from a couple of weeks ago. And I really appreciate that all that work went into it to sort of get us to this place where we are. But Tony, I just have a quick question. Am I reading this correctly, that we are reducing our contingency by 50,000?
Oh, no, that's a good question. So the last line, you mean?
Right.
Yeah. So what that means is we will use contingency left from this year to reduce something next year and sort of pay for it this year.
Or maybe more than that.
Or maybe more, right? It might be.
What is it, 118 now or something like that?
108. Well, that's with the 11, right, Karen? Is that with the 11? Because that's taken off.
Right. So it's really 130.
Yeah.
130 that we have in there now.
Correct.
Because I'm mindful that, we sometimes rely on contingency for a number of things. I don't know how
we got to still fuel by the April hearing. We'll have a lot better of an idea
Okay,
And I also think there's a plan to use part of that contingency to start the project at the center building. So we're gonna use part of it for that, which is about $50,000. But the rest, so far, hopefully we won't need it.
that's I mean, I just want to make sure that that pile is always there and always properly funded because stuff does happen and notwithstanding the fund balance. Anyway, thank you. I appreciate the information.
'Cause, yeah, I think as you all know, you've all been on the Board of Finance for a while. We try and at the end of the year, if there's contingency left, we try and pay something off
Right.
from the next year's budget to reduce next year's budget. So Tony's got his hand on that, so.
So
I'm
for,
looking at-
so what I'll do is for this particular issue, if you decide to move forward with that, I'll just probably do something in the capital budget.
Okay,
Because I have to identify an actual project that we'll use it on.
okay.
And I usually do it for the vehicles because those are such a long lead time on them that, lease vehicles and stuff, probably use it for.
Okay. Well, I'm prepared to support what you've got here. I don't know where other people are in all this.
I have one thing that I will admit somewhat loath to bring it up, but I feel obligated to do it, which is that I think, again, Tony and Matt have done amazing amount of hard work to get this done, and I want to support that for sure. But I think it's come up, and I think this year may be the year we should have some discussion about rec and in particular the fitness center. I just can't in good conscience not at least have us discuss this year. We asked for some information about the use of the fitness center. We number of 35 individuals. I asked for, and again, want to really have the discussion. If we can't tell rec to eliminate a program, but we can reduce funding for, a program. And I asked Tony if the fitness was not in the budget, what would that save? That would be 40,000, right, Tony? Is what I think you came up with.
Correct. That's the information that I have. Yes.
And I just think we have to discuss. We have 35 individuals. We're talking about paying $40,000 plus if the fitness center continues, that there will be a need for more equipment going forward in the years. And I just think, we heard a pretty good presentation from the committee that was looking at the old firehouse, and they did some really good work about if the fitness center was not moved into the old firehouse, what would happen. And we know that the JCC has covered for all seniors or virtually all seniors, so they could go to the JCC for free. So I think we should discuss it. And I will be honest and say I'm a little worried that, I think that the JCC has better equipment. They're better staffed. And while it would I would love to keep the fitness center in Woodbridge, I think this is a year that we're really struggling. And I think we should be discussing whether or not we on the Board of Finance continue to support funding that program. I just felt that I thought it's important for us to discuss.
Well, as I said at the last meeting again, and we're taking 20,000 out of rec, and a lot of that I think is because of the pool being closed. And again, I'm hoping rec has money left over this year because the pool's closed. And I mean, they've got a pool director and they've got pool people in the budget. I'm talking, and I don't know what's happening to those people. Are they getting paid? Of course, we'd have to ask John about that. But again, you're correct. We can't tell them what programs to run and not run. So all we can do is cut funding for salaries or pay and let them decide what they want to fund the salaries with. So yeah, it's not something we can tell them. We can certainly suggest, but I did you get the letter? There was a letter we all got from the rec commission from John. Did you all see that?
Yes.
Okay, and he's obviously.
And I did see that, and I completely support fitness. I understand the importance of fitness.
Yeah.
I will also just point out, if you all didn't read it, that one of the articles that was sent to us talking about the importance of senior fitness also included in the article that Gym 24 and a Trinity Health and a YMCA program was very good for these purposes. They were not, that article did not say it had to be a town sponsored event. And I'm torn with this because I really believe in the importance of community, importance of fitness. I think this is perhaps a nice to have, not a need to have. And yes, we're going to hear about it, but maybe we put a stand now and let people come to us at the preliminary town meeting and tell us to add it back.
Well, again, they can't tell us we shut down the fitness center. We didn't. We're not doing that.
Right.
We're not. We're eliminating some funding.
And I guess, Matt, sorry, I guess my proposal then would be to eliminate at least 40,000 from the rec budget, not
Okay.
just the 20, maybe even 60, if we think that the 20 was because of part-time work related to the pool.
Matt, I have a suggestion. I know this has come up many times, and the numbers seem low both on usage and fees charged. On the other hand, there are people who are used to it. And I'm wondering, since this is a moment of transition, there's supposed to be in the old firehouse, a new facility. I wonder if rather than cutting the budget, we can send a message through this conversation to recreation to say, please take a look at this. I don't know if this is practical at all, what I'm about to say, but what if recreation considered a hiatus during this time of transition, and then we could see what kind of usage goes to the JCC if people are happy with it or not, rather than at this moment cutting the budget. I think sort of a middle ground is to say, please take a hard look at this, and maybe this is a moment to test out something else, because it is quite extraordinary to have the JCC in our backyard also, to have a facility like that. So without going quite as far as Tom is suggesting, I see that, but to say, help us out and please at least consider it and let us know what you think.
If I'm correct, I mean, for those of us on Medicare, every plan I've ever considered, looked at, et cetera, has what they call the Silver Sneakers program. And that gives you free membership to the JCC with all their facilities. And,
and it's more than just Medicare, because when the building committee for the old firehouse, which my understanding is the proposal doesn't include fitness. So I think that Ellen's proposal saying, put it on hiatus would be interesting, but they looked into it. They talked to the folks at the JCC, and they said that there were in addition to Silver Sneakers, there were 4 or 5 other insurances that covered, gym memberships at the JCC. So it was looking like there would be very few people who would not have access to the JCC. And I like Ellen's suggestion about a hiatus, but given the letters that they've been sending us, I don't think they would do a hiatus.
Yeah, I agree.
Can I don't think this is our decision to make.
No, it's not. Right.
And I don't think it's ours. I think we are both overstepping and undercutting what we ask all of our boards and commissions to do, which is attend to the details, program, and minutia of what they're offering our citizens. That's not the responsibility of the Board of Finance. I think Tony and Matt, as I understand what they did, they came up with a responsible budget reduction. It's our responsibility to approve it or disapprove it and put it before the voters. I don't want to figure out the correct programmatic response for recreation to have to the fact that they only have X number of members who participate in the fitness center. For those of us not on Medicare, by the way, it's my understanding that the Silver Sneakers program and other programs like that make that program available. That's not the same as membership to the entire facility. I could be wrong on that, but I believe that's a distinction worth noting. In any event, I don't think this is really our bailiwick.
And I agree, it's not our bailiwick to say what they should do with it. It is our bailiwick to say we can reduce their funding, and they do what they want.
Which the proposal already does.
So then my proposal is to reduce it further.
Well, it's very content driven.
Well, I think, I mean, in fairness, often it's content driven. When we look at a budget, we don't just say, oh, let's just cut. We do look at content, but I just want to go back to what you said originally, Susan, which I do agree with, to thank Matt and Tony. And and this is separate from this discussion about rec, but what I think is so important is that we can have a great deal of confidence in Tony's recommendations when he goes back and checks on different things, because he does project conservatively. And I found that many times that if there's a chance 50,000, Tony tells us 50. So sometimes things work out better, but that's numbers. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I think honestly, I'm not in favor of cutting rec anymore. I think it's a start, and I think perhaps maybe we should have a meeting with them and look into the programs and which ones, you know, which ones draw what. I've heard that the fitness center does not have a lot of activity, but again, it's for those of you who are on the Board of Finance. The last time it became the thought that we were trying to shut the fitness center, I mean, we had about 75 letters. I don't know, there's never that many people in the fitness center, but we had all kinds of letters and people meetings, and it was on and on and on and on about it. So, and I said at that point is, look, we can't shut the fitness center. The rec would have to do that if they don't have the proper funding. So I don't think I think at this point I'd stick with the 20 and move on and get some more information.
And by the way, I'm happy with all of that because I do think that Tony and Matt have done a great job. I just thought it was important for us to have a little bit of a discussion.
Yeah,
That's
I
all.
hear you. Okay.
And I think the Board of Selectmen has to be involved in this conversation. If you're
Yes,
gonna,
that's right.
I mean, I have absolutely no problem having an expanded conversation. I mean, that makes a great deal of sense. But I do think that the stakeholders need to be a part of that and go from there.
No,
Yeah.
I
I
just
think
want to
that's
chime
what I'm
in.
trying to say is to, I'm sorry, Dwight, to suggest
Go
to the rec commission to take a look at it and see
Right.
what they, based on these concerns.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with a lot of the comments people have made, but I had to go by the fitness center this morning. I had to go to PD for some business. And I stopped in and there were like 8 or 9 seniors enjoying themselves, working out and everything else. And it's more of like it's like a social clique with them. They go every morning. They always bring their drinks and all that stuff. And it's really nice to see. Plus, another thing on the flip side is, unless we do something with the center building, which I'm the chair of the building committee with, and unless that project moves forward, they can stay in there for a year, 2 or 3 years and not get evicted, even though that maybe there isn't any fitness center in the old firehouse right now. Plan for it. We are planning to do an investigation hopefully in April to get some money approved so we can get the architect to do a lot of work for the center building, coming up with ideas, coming up with suggestions of renovations, especially with the PD expansion and everything else. So that's something we're going to be working on. But until we actually start the work and we need that space, there isn't any need to like evict them, kick them out. You know, I let them stay there if they can afford the funding.
I would agree.
Does anybody know what it costs to belong to the fitness center? It's not much, I don't think.
Depends on your, it's not, I think the senior rate is
Very low.
low, but the rates for, others is a little higher. I have that information. I just don't have it with me.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so to go by and find 8 or 9 seniors there who pay next to nothing to belong to it. I mean, again, this is what we're talking about. Is it really financially feasible to have this thing? I mean, do a lot of younger people use it? I don't know, but again, I think we need more information. And as Susan said, I think it's got to be probably a Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance meeting to talk about this stuff. So, Tony, do you have numbers that, I guess, there's no major problems here with this, so do you have numbers that you want me to make a motion with?
I do. I just want to make one other comment. We did
Yeah.
receive 2 other letters. I just want to make sure everyone received. One was from the fire chief about software that he he has software now that resides on the server, and that's becoming obsolete, and he has to go to a cloud-based system. And so that's the subscription charge for the cloud-based system, which he does not have in his budget. Just want you to be all aware of that.
Mhm.
And then the others from the library. Member of the library commission. Right.
Yes.
Okay. I'll make sure you receive those. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I do have the numbers for you.
Go ahead.
So, the expenditures, 56,253,395.
Okay.
The non-tax revenues, 5,464,053.
5,464,053.
Correct.
Okay.
The amount to be raised in taxes, 50,789,342.
You say that again?
50 million
789,342.
raised by taxes.
And then the two mill rates are 45.08 and 32.46.
5.08.
Yeah.
And then for
30
motor vehicles.
32.46. That's the other thing, is I have not heard the state changing the 32.46. I suppose they could change that at any time, but they have not.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion that we present to the preliminary budget hearing on April 24th, a budget which shows total expenditures of $56,253,395. Non-tax revenues of $5,464,053. The amount to be raised by taxes, $50,789,342, which will result in a mill rate of 45.08 and an automobile mill rate of 32.46.
I second that.
Okay. Any
And
discussion?
Is that, and that's subject to any additional adjustments between
Yeah,
now and the
course.
preliminary hearing?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. All those in favor? I'm yes. Susan?
Yes.
Ellen?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
Donovan, I heard you. Tom?
Yes.
That's everybody, right? Okay. So that's what we'll present, and again, be prepared. We're gonna even that'll get us to 2.99, Tony, roughly.
That's correct.
Okay. We will. I'm sure we're gonna hear about that. Okay. So I see nothing else. Is there anything else anybody wants to speak about? If not, then I'll make a motion. We adjourn.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Yes.
Yes.
See you.
Yes.
We'll see you on the 20th, I believe, Thursday the 20th, and maybe we'll have more information on a lot of stuff by the 20th. But this is, I know, like as Tony said, this is pretty current stuff, and I don't think much is going to change, but you never know.
Can I ask what the 20th is of March?
Yeah, what are you
April.
talking about?
April
20th.
20th is our next Board of
April
Finance
20th.
meeting.
April. Okay.
April 20th. Yeah, the 20th.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
If I have any budget updates, I'll bring them up on the 20th, so you can have them for the hearing.
Great.
Perfect.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks,
Okay.
everybody.
Everybody.
Enjoy